Hello, everyone, and welcome to Aftersight. I am your host, Penn Street, and I want to give a couple of shout outs. I was asked to be a guest on the podcast, The Harmony Goal, and it was really super fun, so I hope you check it out. Again, it's The Harmony Goal. If you like Aftersight, you will definitely like The Harmony Goal. And also, Audio Information Network of Colorado has some new original podcasts. One of them is called Blind Sight, and then the other one is Topic of the Month. And Blind Sight is about mental health, and we have an amazing host, Bill Lundgren, who is a psychiatrist, and he talks about all things mental health, and it's really, really helpful for all of us. And with Topic of the Month, we dive into a different topic every single month, and we do podcasts around that, as well as we present resources and services, so we make a lot of really neat connections. And to check out everything that AINC is doing, go to our website at aincolorado.org. And speaking of podcasts, today I'm interviewing Maddie and Liz, who are twins and sisters. I guess you don't really need to say sisters if you're twins. And they have a really incredible podcast called Courageously Kind. And I started following Maddie and Liz during the pandemic shutdown when we were all hiding in the dark in our houses, afraid to move, afraid to breathe. And they really, really brought joy back to my life. And they also brought light back into the darkness because it was pretty scary for me during those times. So Maddie and Liz, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks so much for having us. We're so excited to reconnect with you and to be on here today. We're psyched.
Awesome. So when we come back, we're going to dive in.
You're listening to Aftersight with Penn Street, an AINC original podcast. If you enjoy what you hear, please visit aincolorado.org for more shows, news, and articles read by our amazing staff and volunteers. If you have a question for Penn or would like to recommend a guest for future shows, please visit aincolorado.org/podcast-guest. And now, here's your host, Penn Street.
Maddie and Liz, again, welcome to Aftersight. This is so exciting. I feel like I know you guys way more than I probably do, just because we have reconnected over the, 2 years, I think it's been.
Isn't that wild? 2 years. I feel like we've known you forever, though.
Yeah.
I know. I felt that way the first time I listened to Courageously Kind. There was a connection there. And actually, my husband, Moses, he had started listening to you guys first. And then he's like, Penn, you have to check this out. And then, of course, now we talk about you guys all the time. We feel like you're part of our family. We even got to meet your dad in the background one time. So thank you so much. I know you guys are busy. You're in college. Is this your second year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Can't believe it. Time flies. Everyone says it flies, but when you're in it, it's like a mile a minute.
And when you get older, and I know all old people say this, but as you get older, because I remember being your age, and I remember people saying, oh, the older you get, that goes by faster. Mm-hmm. It really, really does. It really, really does. Well, Maddie and Liz, I always like to start out Aftersight with just some rapid fire questions so that our audience gets to know some little bit more about you before we dive in. Is that okay with the two of you?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I want to hear from both of you. So the first question is fresh cut flowers or a potted plant?
I would say a potted plant because I get sad when the flowers would wilt, eventually.
I'm going to say fresh cut flowers because then I don't have to worry about killing a plant. I'm really bad at taking care of.
I'm actually with you. It always makes me nervous when people give me potted plants because I usually hand it over to my husband, Moses, and say, if it's going to live, it's up to you. Because, yeah, so I'm with you on that one. Would you rather own a house? And I know you're young, but I know you're already thinking about stuff like this. Would you rather own a house or travel the world?
Probably own a house for me. I think I'm kind of a homebody.
Yeah, me too.
You would?
Yeah, I think I would love to have a space, kind of like a home base. That's just
Plant your roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do own a house, but if I had the choice and I had the finances, I would travel.
Yeah.
I love meeting new people and experiencing different cultures, and because even though we own our house, we travel a ton.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting. I love these questions because it really makes me think too, because in my head I answer them as well. So markers or crayons?
Markers, I'm going to say.
You know, I haven't used crayons in so long, and I feel like I miss them.
Like the smell of a crayon.
Yeah, I'm going to go with crayons.
Yeah, and I like because I'm visually impaired, I like the texture of crayons.
Yeah.
And you can touch the ends without getting it all over your fingers. So
True.
it's more of a tactile tool for me.
Yeah.
So would you prefer to cook the meal or do the dishes?
Cook the meal.
Cook the meal. I hate dishes. Yeah.
I am all in with you there. I don't know if it's like a learned thing, but when I swear, even as a little kid, because, I'm the 9th of 10 children. And so my parents had these like chore, charts. And so when it came time to where we were supposed to do that, and I remember even as a little kid, I felt like doing dishes made my back hurt, which makes no rhyme reason. And I still feel that way as an adult. So one good thing is I do enjoy cooking, and Moses he loves to do dishes, which I think is really weird.
You guys are a good pair.
We are. Okay. So music is really important to me in my life. Yeah. And so I always ask my guests, what is your theme song? If you had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, this is such a good question. I got to think about it. You know what popped in my head is Walking on Sunshine.
Ooh,
I don't feel sunshiny every day, but I feel like that's a good goal.
Maybe like Flowers in Your Hair by the Lumineers.
Oh, I love that one too.
What's yours, Penn?
Yeah.
Mine is Eye of the Tiger, which do you guys even know that song? You're so young. You do. Yeah. It always, because I love Rocky. Like I love the whole story with all of them. I don't know how many there are now, 10 or something, but just that overcoming what you don't think you can overcome, and just that beat, right? Like, just no matter how blue I feel, I hear Eye of the Tiger, and I'm like, okay, I got this. Put on my boxing gloves. I can do it. So, well, thank you for that. It's always just a fun way before we dive into the podcast. So thank you for being brave and actually answering them. Because I'm always worried one of these days somebody's going to go, nope, that's none of your business. Hasn't happened yet, but it could. Well, the two of you started your podcast, Courageously Kind, and it seemed that it really hit a nerve with what people needed, especially during the pandemic. Could you share sort of what inspired the two of you to do that, to start the podcast, and even the theme of the podcast and the name of the podcast? Like, how did this even come together for you guys?
Yeah. Well, it was really it felt really spontaneous, to be honest with you. And I wouldn't consider myself like a spontaneous person. But it kind of just happened, I guess. That's not a good answer. But we were in the middle of the pandemic. It was August of 2020. And we, like most people, were just feeling burnt out by, the constant news cycle and just feeling really hopeless.
Yeah.
And I think we both, I'll let you speak on this too, but I think we both were just asking ourselves, like, what can we do for the world? You know what I mean? How can we make a difference? And I think everyone can make a difference in their own way. Podcasting, I guess, kind of became our way. But we just felt like the world needed kindness more than anything. And that was something that we could offer. So I said to Liz, do you want to start a podcast? And she said, no.
Why? Why would we do that? I'm really glad that I said yes. So.
Yeah. How long did it take you, Liz, to get on the bandwagon with it?
You know
did
what?
Did it take very long?
I immediately was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But it took me a couple weeks to really I didn't realize that she was serious. I was like, oh, sure, we'll start it, whatever. And then as we got going, I was like, wow, you really want to do this? Okay, let's go.
We were just having these conversations in the, you know what I mean, in the pandemic.
Yes.
What else was there to do but talk to each other? And I just thought, how cool would it be if we could have a record of these conversations, but also maybe share them with somebody, and maybe something will hit home for somebody, or maybe someone can find connection through that. And I would say we have found so much connection and so much love through it. It really was just born out of a desire to do something good.
I also would love for you to share, how did you come up with Courageously Kind? Because I know when AINC asked me to do a podcast, in the beginning it was called Community Conversations, but that wasn't, sexy enough or whatever. And so it took us forever to kind of land on Aftersight. And it really came about because we're like, well, why do we want to do this? And one of us said, well, we want to show that people can have lives after they lose their vision. And we're like, after losing Aftersight. And so we all like, Aftersight.
There it is.
So, but with Courageously Kind, it is, it's almost a philosophy. When I think about being courageously kind. And so how did you guys land on that?
It was really hard. I feel like picking the name is always the hardest part. Even when I write a paper for school or something, headlines are the hardest thing. We argued about it for a long time. We had a few that we were going back and forth on. We knew kind was in there somewhere. We knew the center of the podcast was about kindness, so kind had to be in there. We toyed around with consciously kind, but to be totally honest, we couldn't spell that. We could not spell conscious to save our lives, so we were like, okay, definitely can't. That one's out. But we're talking a lot about kindness and how fear can be a barrier to being kind. We're afraid of what other people think, or we're afraid of, really being kind to ourselves and what that looks like. And so we kind of just stumbled on courageous. I think we argue about who actually came up with it. Liz is like, I totally did it, but I think I did it. But it was a group effort, we'll say. But it does take courage to be kind to ourselves. It's an act of bravery to be kind to ourselves and to others. And it kind of stuck. Courageously kind.
It's also a little bit of an opposite, too, of I think when we think about courage, we think about pride and loud energy. Sort of bring that kind of attitude to something like kindness. It kind of puts the two together, that they can work together.
It is so true. I think I have shared this with you, but I facilitate a low vision support group, and most of the people in there are senior citizens. And some of your ideas, and you guys are really good about lists, and I share those with my support group. And one of the things is, yes, it takes courage to be kind, but it also takes courage to let people be kind to you, because that's the one big thing is when you have a disability or you find yourself with a physical barrier, that you need help every once. I mean, everybody needs help, right? But when you're stuck in you're find yourself in a situation where you do need help, it's really hard to not just ask for it, but just to accept it and be okay with that. And so I use your courageously kind, that side of it as well. And I think, Liz, you said it's not just the sort of that first layer, courageously kind. I think it has so many layers to it and so many sides to it that the two of you, I think, really hit on something. And like I said, I feel like your podcast was a success from day one because you really hit on something that people really, really need. Mm. But I also think if any other two people did it, it would not be as successful, because I think your stories and your perspectives, because even though you're twins, mm-hmm. you're so very different. Yeah. And you know that you really bring that to your podcast, week after week after week. So one of the things that I know that you do a lot, you use the podcast as a platform for advocacy. Can you share a little bit about that and how that got started?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Courageously Kind was kind of born very shortly after I did a video for an organization called Face Equality International. And they are a global alliance of different organizations who are fighting for fair treatment, equality, respect for those with facial disfigurement. So I really think Maddie saw the passion that I was starting to muster up for advocacy for face equality. And that's really when the podcast began. And we really have made face equality a huge part of what Courageously Kind is.
Yeah, and I know you talk about on the podcast, like even some of the in media, you've brought up some of the films and things about that make people, I don't know how to say it, like monstrous or the villain or whatever that don't look, I mean, none of us look like each other. I hate when they say if you don't look normal or whatever. None of us look like each other.
Right.
And so what kind of feedback are you receiving from those communities?
Yeah, so media representation is something that we are huge advocates for in the visually different community. A lot of monsters or villains in film and television often have physical disfigurements, and it can be a very harmful trope that's used way too often. That's something we're very vocal about. And thankfully, the response to our vocalness
yes,
has been very welcoming and receiving. I can't tell you how many messages I get from people that are simply saying, I never realized this, and now I see it everywhere. So we've been very, very lucky.
We've also received so many messages from people who Liz has a condition called Goldenhar syndrome. And we have received so many messages from people with Goldenhar syndrome that have said, like, I never knew anyone else with this condition. And it's so nice to be able to see you and connect with you. And I think that is so special and so heartwarming.
I don't know if it's me, and I know algorithms and all that play effect on social media, but I have noticed since I've met the two of you and we've had these conversations that I noticed there are more people that are sharing their lives and their social activities that are facially different on Instagram. I don't know about the other social media. And I don't know if it's true, but I think it's because of the two of you.
You're so sweet.
Thank you.
So.
I have definitely noticed people nowadays are more willing to share their stories and more open to that. And I think, social media gets a really bad rep for, like reasons that are justified, cyberbullying and things like that. But
Yes.
I think we do have the power to make it a really accepting and inclusive place.
Yeah. And I have shared this with the two of you, is when I was 9 and I was diagnosed with Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And Stevens-Johnson syndrome, you burn alive from the inside out. They treat you in a burn unit. You look and your body responds just as if you've been in a fire. And when I was finally strong enough where they took me out of ICU and put me in a private room, they removed all the mirrors in my room. And I was a tomboy, so I don't ever remember looking at mirrors. And so when they weren't there, I didn't really notice they weren't there because, my little sister's a different story. She's a total princess, so she would have noticed right away. But I was fiddling with the little tray that went over my bed and that you would eat your lunch on or whatever. And I was fiddling because, I'm a tomboy, so I like to figure things out. And I realized it flipped open. And when it came open, there was a mirror there, and a big mirror. And I literally screamed and was hysterical because there was a monster looking back at me. And it was so distinct because I would have looked very differently from the last time I had looked in the mirror. And up until I met the two of you, when I share that story, I always say there was, that it was a monster looking back at me, because with the media, you look at any of the children's stories, the facially disfigured person is the monster. So as a 9-year-old little girl, it was so sad to me that I didn't look at her as that I was sick and that I was hurt and I was facing, literally life-death situation. My memory of it is I saw a monster, and that made me so sad. But yet it changed the framing of when I tell my story now, because when I say when I looked in the mirror, and obviously I always tell everybody about you guys and how you changed that story for me, and that it does make me sad that it took decades for me to realize that I was doing it to myself as a little girl. And that is just, it's heartbreaking to me. And how many other children out there think of it that way, because that's what the media is telling me.
Yeah.
You really did change how I look back at my story, and really, really altered it and how I share it now. So thank you.
Thank you. I mean, that's why we started this. I mean, when we started this, we could have never imagined that we would be able to impact people's lives.
Yeah. You said you have people reaching out to you.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you're sharing with those people?
We had a very lovely message from a young girl who showed one of our TikTok videos to her dad. And her dad, I believe, spoke Spanish. And so she translated this video to him. And he had golden hair as well, and just broke down in tears because he had never seen anybody that looked like him. And stories like that just melt my heart, because I know what it feels like to not see anybody that looks like you. I was very lucky when I was around 8 years old to meet a young girl who was about 10 years older, who had a twin sister who had the same condition and only lived like an hour away from us.
Isn't that wild?
It was...
Oh my goodness.
It was like looking at ourselves in 10 years. It was such an amazing experience.
Mind-blowing, and I'm so grateful for that. But I also recognize that not everybody has that crazy experience. So to be that person for anyone else, it blows my mind and it warms my heart. And I feel so grateful.
Yeah, and I do think that it is a platform, like you said, that can go either way, the cyberbullying or do something beautiful. And also, talk about courage. Liz, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but I think it does take courage to say, hey, this is who I am, and I deserve to be here just as much as Maddie does, or, my mom does, or my dad does, or my friend, or whoever. I think you're courageous for what you are doing, because you could, just like Maddie said, the cyberbullies could just be so horrible. And I'm so thankful that they're not. But do you want to talk a little bit about what that takes for you to be sort of this role model for the world?
Absolutely. Just saying, like, hi, I'm Liz and I have golden hour syndrome makes my palms sweat a little bit still. It's scary, and for a long time I wanted to just fly under the radar, all through elementary school, high school. I just didn't want to be noticed at all. I didn't want people to look at me at all because they would see something different. And so then when Maddie comes to me and says, I want to do this podcast, knowing that my voice was going to be like on the internet was terrifying. I had to go to speech therapy for years to try and get my voice to be clear, and it's still not 100% like Maddie's would be. But I'm so grateful to have this cheerleader next to me that really just kind of pushes me off that cliff and say, no, go do it. Because I would have never met you, and I would have never met so many incredible people that have really changed my life.
Yeah. Do you feel courageous?
No, never.
No.
I feel like courage and also kindness are going to be skills I'm going to have to practice my entire life. And I have moments of courage, but I don't know if I'd ever label myself as courageous.
Well, you mentioned TikTok, and I feel like some of the things you say on TikTok take some courage to say those. And
some hot takes.
Yeah. Yeah. So Maddie, because I can't see people's faces, so to me, I always build a picture of which probably I shouldn't, but I build a picture in my head what people look like, and it's similar to people who are sighted if they're talking to somebody on the phone that they've never seen. That you kind of, from what their voice and how they answer questions or the tone or whatever, you kind of build this like picture in your mind. So to me, none of us look alike, or none of us look similar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So how has it been for you? Because my little sister, we're not twins, even though my mother dressed us as twins until we were teenagers and refused to do it. Is we've talked about it, and a lot of that discussion has come out of your podcast about kind of how she felt in comparison to what the other people around us maybe have felt with me. But how is it for you? Because you're both like the face of this podcast, but yet you're both different. You're coming from different views. How are you handling this? I mean, it really is fame, right? I mean, you guys are famous.
So, that's so scary to think about.
But it's true.
I would say I try sometimes, I guess, to be the more courageous of the two of us. I know that sometimes Liz needs a little courage boost, and so I am like, okay, I have to like build myself up so I can build Liz up. It's definitely sometimes nerve-wracking. I find myself comparing what I look like to people on TikTok all the time, And when I say like, oh, like my face looks asymmetrical, Liz just looks at me like, really? Or did you really just say that? Like, but that just reminds me, like, we all need to work on being kinder to ourselves and accepting ourselves just the way we look. I struggle with it too. I think one of the hard things is that people don't assume that we're sisters or twins. I tell people that we're twins, and people have this idea in their head of twins that look, the same, like carbon copies
identical,
of each other.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I tell people, oh yeah, we're twins. It's always like a shock. So that is something that has surprised me, because we feel like twins in every sense of the word. You know what I mean? Like, we room together at college and we're together all the time. So I'm always kind of like off-put when people are like, twins? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, you didn't get that from like, we're always together and like hanging out all the time. But yeah, this whole thing has reminded me how important it is to be kind to ourselves, and how that like reflects in others. You know what I mean? Like, if Liz sees me being unkind to myself, maybe that means she'll be unkind to herself. You know what I mean? Just like being examples for each other and learning from each other. And that, I think I've learned that over the last 2 years.
Yeah. What would you say your biggest challenges are right now?
Stress and dealing with stress and anxiety. We're coming up on midterms in college, so that has been stressful. And also navigating between like college and home. We were home because we had COVID, and so it was nice to be home, but it was hard to be away from school. And that was something we really struggled with last year, homesickness and things like that. So I think those are the two biggest challenges for me.
I would think.
What about you, Liz?
I think for me, not really having like a clear set path for like my future. I feel like a lot of college kids or anyone really experiences that, but I love to have a plan. I love to know what that plan is. And right now I just kind of feel like I'm going along for the ride.
Yeah, it's hard.
I think that's okay, isn't it? I mean, you guys, because you're 19 now?
Yes, gonna be 20 soon.
Yeah,
scary.
So I think that's okay, but I know what you mean. Like I was telling Jonathan when we were talking, I was telling him a little bit about you, and I said they have theirs together, like, and I did not when I was your age. I can't even imagine handling like your school load and your families, and then this podcast. And it's not just Courageously Kind. You guys are doing all these little special things on the side and TikTok and all these different things. Like I think you've raised the bar for what 19-year-olds should be.
I'm glad it seems like we have our stuff together, because we feel like we don't most days.
I want to ask you something. I don't know if you could say if you don't want to answer.
No, I love it.
But who is your favorite guest that you've interviewed? And do not say me.
Well, you, of course.
No.
Maybe Melissa.
Then second best. Oh,
Melissa
that's
Simpson.
Right.
She was so awesome, and we kind of stayed in touch via email and stuff.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So sweet. Her documentary was like so impactful. It's so powerful. So to be able to talk with her about that was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and that short documentary it's called From My Window, and we'll make sure we put that in the podcast notes.
Awesome.
It definitely is a powerful. So what drew you to Melissa, like her story? Like what did you feel connected to?
Just the courage, I think. You know what I mean? Like the courage that she had to set this goal for herself, and to do whatever she could to achieve it, I think was so powerful, so motivating.
And just that, she literally climbed a mountain, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But I feel like it can also be so metaphorical to all of us. I think we all have a mountain that we either have to or want to climb. And just her determination and her strength. So inspiring.
Yeah.
Well, I know the two of you are super close to your family. You've mentioned your parents. And like I said, I got to meet your dad in the background. That was fun. But what's the most important advice that you think that your parents have given you, maybe your mom and your dad, if it was different, that you really took to heart and that has helped shape you into who you are now?
Our dad always tries to cram them all in. Like, whenever we're home from college, he, like, sits us down and gives us the whole, his whole spiel. But I think something that we have always kind of had instilled in us by our parents is, like, never give up, you know?
Yeah.
Never give up, persevere. Yeah, never give up, I think, is what came to my mind first.
Also, whenever we would like be at a park or we go to school, our dad had this really cheesy saying. But
Oh no.
I know exactly what it is.
He would say, "Go, be free, and grow up to be whatever you want to be."
Oh.
But he would say it like every single day, so we would know it was coming. And
that sounds like it belongs on a t-shirt.
he would make that t-shirt. He would.
Or refrigerator magnets. I
like
think.
a bumper
I could
sticker,
see
maybe.
That. Yeah, bumper sticker. Oh, that's great. That's great. I also wanted to ask you guys, because you are in college, and your podcast is popular, how do people react to you when they at college in particular?
Yeah.
Because it is a tight-knit community there.
Yeah.
And once they realize that you have this podcast and that you're Maddie and Liz, and
it has been kind of unexpected, I guess. You know, with the internet nowadays, you feel like you know everyone before you even meet them, I guess. But we have had people from our school be like, "Oh yeah, you guys are the ones with the podcast. Like, I know you guys. I've heard of your podcast." We're actually taking an audio engineering class, and part of the project is a podcast project. And our professor was like, "So I listened to your podcast, and yeah, you can just do that for class if you want." And we were like, "Perfect, double dipping." Yeah. So it's been kind of unexpected, but kind of cool. And people are also like recruiting us of like, "Do you want to come do the TV station now because you do podcast things?" And we're like, "Okay." But it's good because we need like practicum hours, so we need like field experience hours. So we can kind of, count what we're doing.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
those.
What about you, Liz? Like, how do you?
I feel so terrible when somebody comes up to me and knows me from the podcast, but I don't know their name. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad, and I feel like I think I should know them.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, "Hey, you?" Because I don't know their name. But it is really bizarre, and I don't think it's something I'm going to get used to anytime soon.
But it's kind of nice as like introverts a little bit to like have people already know. You don't really have to like explain who you are or what you do. That has been nice.
Yeah, you already have the icebreaker, right? Already broken, because if you meet on campus and you're at a party or something, they already have something they can talk to you about.
Right.
Yeah, but I agree. It drives me crazy when people. I was at a fundraising event last night, and people came up like, "Penn, it's so good to see you again. Where's Beethoven?" Beethoven is my guide dog, and I'm like, "Who are you?"
Hey, you.
It's good to see you again too. Love your sweater. It's like, I don't know who you are.
It happens.
So are you guys have you taken over the TV station?
Not totally. We've been doing weather segments, actually, which is fun. We did one this morning. So that's been fun. Learning all the equipment is like super intimidating, but it's been fun to just play with it.
Yeah. Do you think you'll do more? Like what do you aspire to do?
Definitely. I kind of like more of the behind the scenes, like writing and that sort of thing. So I don't know if like super on camera things one of our professors does a segment called Mental Health Matters, which I think is really cool. So I'd love to get involved with that in some way, but we'll see.
Is it on television, or is it a podcast that he does?
It's not on television. It's through our TV studio. It's on YouTube. So it's like like a video segment, which I think is really cool.
And does he interview people, or does he just talk to specialists? Or
he interviews, I believe it's professors on campus and like professionals in the community, mental health professionals. And they just talk about different. I know they did like a seasonal one, so they talked about like mental health around the holidays and that sort of thing. Seems really cool.
Yeah.
Would love to learn more.
So what do the two of you do to, because mental health is so critically important, and that's why we started a special podcast and topic of the month here at AINC, because especially I feel like that was one of the things that came out of the pandemic is that it's okay to talk about mental health. And what do the two of you do to take care of yourselves in that area?
Yeah, talking about it. 100% is so important. We meet with an advisor here on campus to just check in with how things are going. She has a psychology background, so she, helps us navigate all of that. What else? What do you do, Liz?
I think talking about it, being open, and clearly communicating how you're feeling. A big kind of roadblock I know we've experienced, in getting angry or frustrated at each other is when there's something deeper going on that we're just not articulating. So I think it's really helped our work relationship, I'll call it, and our sister relationship, when we are able to articulate what we're feeling, why we're feeling that way, and then we can move forward and, do the self-care, take the long shower, little things like that really help.
Yeah. I think being outside too, we both love the outdoors, and so getting some fresh air and spending time in nature, and just, the little things of like getting enough sleep and eating our fruits and veggies and trying to do that in college is hard sometimes. Yeah.
It is hard.
Chicken tenders at the dining hall all the time,
And the French fries. Don't forget the French fries.
The best.
But sometimes I wouldn't recommend it every day, but sometimes, like I know, it's just like, this is a pizza ordering night, and I don't feel like making quinoa and green beans and that kind of thing. And I just need to get on my app and order a pizza.
Yes.
And I think that is self-care sometimes, as long as you're not doing it every night.
Yeah. Balance. Of course.
Yes.
All about balance. I love it.
I know you guys are only 19, and you have a long, prosperous life ahead of you. But when you think about Courageously Kind, what are you thinking about continuing it on past college?
I think so. I think the ultimate dream would be being able to do this for our whole lives. I don't know if it'll last that long, but to do something like this in this capacity, dream would be to do it as a job. But, we're, I think, both realists and understand that is hard sometimes. But we don't have any plans to stop it. I guess we'll go as long as we can.
Absolutely.
That's great.
I think we'll always be talking about kindness. I don't think we're ever going to shut up.
You found your voice. You're not going to be quiet again.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's next? Like, what do you think, like, from a year from now? You've got your first 2 years in. What's next for the two of you?
I think just talking to more people as of right now is the plan. We have a crazy dream to get a billboard and have some kind message on it. That's like one of our crazy dream plans. We'll see.
Where would the billboard be?
The dream is Times Square, but those are very expensive and we do not have a budget for that. So we'll see. But
what would your message say?
I think just be courageously kind. Yeah. And then people can interpret that how they would like to interpret that. But yeah, I think the next year, just talking to more guests and trying to find ways that we can get people engaged in kindness and acts of kindness. And I think would love to be able to do more like action service-based type stuff.
Yeah, and I know that your faith is really important to you, and you I don't know if you're still doing it, but I know you were doing sort of a shoot off from Courageously Kind, where you were sort of diving into that topic. Are you still doing that?
We have not resurrected that yet.
I would love to resurrect.
Okay.
Yeah, Liz is actually thinking about minoring in religious studies because she loves that sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll happen. I hope so. But yeah, I'd love to resurrect that series. And I love talking to people, all different types of faith.
Yes. And that's what I loved listening to it, because you had people that were on there that, it was very universal, the people that you had on.
I think it was a fun way to connect with people that do have different faith backgrounds than we do. And just kind of realize that, we're all humans and we all deserve kindness, and everyone's beliefs and values might look a little bit different, but we're all rooting for the same thing, which is kindness. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you guys ever going to do, I think I asked you this last time, are you ever going to do like t-shirts or like a line of...
I think we should. We're trying to figure out how to do it. We just figured out our website, which was totally more complicated than I was expecting. So hopefully maybe someday we will have a full line of merch. We have journals. We did this thing called the Self-Kindness Journal that has 30 prompts just to help people kind of explore what self-kindness looks like to them and dive deeper into that. So those are available on Amazon.
Okay.
That's really
I was going to ask you. That was my next, because you had sent me a sticker, which I have, that is on my notebook that sits by my desk at home. So how do people find out about you? You said you just, built your new website. So share with the audience where they can find you guys.
Yeah. So our website is courageouslykind.org. .org was expensive, but we got a .org, so we're set up there. And we're on Instagram at Courageously Kind Podcast. We're on TikTok at Courageously Kind. What else?
You can listen to the podcast wherever you hear your podcast. So Spotify, Apple Music. We're on Overcast, I think. Any streaming service, I believe.
Yeah. And
when do your podcasts drop?
Every Sunday. Yes. So typically Sunday afternoons. Sometimes we don't get our butts in gear and it's Sunday evening, but every Sunday for sure.
That's great. And we will put those notes in our podcast notes. So if you didn't, catch that. So, okay. So I always give the opportunity for my guests to ask me a question. So since there's two of you, you can either secretly take a second and come up with one, but I'm open to having a question from each of you.
How did you get into doing advocacy work, the work that you do? How did you get into doing this professionally?
Oh my goodness. It still surprises me that I'm doing it. I didn't, I went to school to be a journalist and a special ed teacher. And so I just never thought that this would be where I was. I had other people advocating for me, but which I was very fortunate to be one of those kids that had people that went to bat for her, but which I know that I'm very lucky because not all kiddos have that. But I think it was, people started asking me to talk to the elementary school, just little things here and there. Or, organizations like the Lions Clubs would, I'm a member. So they would say, "Oh, Penn, would you get up and share your story?" And oh my goodness, I was so terrified in the beginning, but then people just kept asking me, and then it just sort of grew out of that. And then the advocacy part, there really was a shift from people advocating for me to where I was advocating for other people. And it was really just sort of a natural step. But really, it's just people started asking me to tell my story. And like this podcast that I got asked to be on, the Harmony Goal, he said, well, what do you want to share? And I said, well, what do you want me to talk about? Because, I have people that, oh, Penn, can you come and talk about guide dogs? And well, I could talk about that all day. But when they, I have faith-based communities that ask me to come and talk about how the power of prayer and how that saved me and continues to this day. So it's, it really was just people asking me and me allowing myself to be okay with sharing it. Because in the beginning, it was like, oh, I don't want anybody to know anything about me. And I, kind of like Liz, what you were, I was trying to go under the radar. But then I realized, I wouldn't be who I am today if people ahead of me didn't advocate and didn't step up and stand up and fight, put those boxing gloves on and fight. So now it's my turn. So that's a great question, Liz. Nobody's asked me that yet. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Maddie, do you have anything?
I've got one. And you can say it's too personal if you don't want to share it. That's totally fine. But I would love to hear more about the power of prayer. I think prayer is something I'm always exploring. So what is that? What does prayer look like for you?
Yeah. So as a little kid, you're going to church and you learn about prayer. But when I was diagnosed with Stevens-Johnson syndrome, the doctors thought I was unconscious, but I was still there and I could hear. I couldn't open my eyes because it hurt too bad, but I could still hear at that time. And I heard them tell my parents that if she makes it through morning, it's not from anything we did.
Wow.
And so they had done all they could do.
Yeah.
And so, my parents stayed in the room. Well, only one at a time. I was in ICU and they gave my mom a phone. She was the first one. And I heard her calling all of her friends and family and her saying, you need to call everybody we need to get the prayers out. And so all night, that's what and they would take turns. Every time my dad would come in the room, he'd make phone calls and it really was. The doctor, the whole medical field was just in shock.
Wow.
That not only did I survive, but I could still see some. I still had some vision.
Yeah.
I still had most of my hearing. I could talk. I could think. I could breathe on my own. And then eventually I was even able to eat on my own. And it really was a miracle. And we had doctors that weren't necessarily believers of prayer.
Yeah.
That they literally just put their hands up and said, I have no idea why you're still here.
Wow.
And so, and then throughout my life, I have a really bad heart and bad lungs and, there's been some poor Moses. I keep saying I'm going to give him a heart attack some of these days. As many times as he's seen me go gray from not being able to breathe or my heart stops. But it's that same thing. I know that it's prayer that's keeping my heart going and my, keeping me breathing. And, and I say a prayer every time I wake up in the morning and I manage to be able to get out of bed and, I'm thankful. And so that's what prayer means to me is believing beyond what's here right now in front of me. It's something that's bigger than me. And I do believe that if enough people are praying and putting that energy out to the universe, that it does create change. So,
absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. That's so awesome.
Oh, Maddie and Liz, I could talk to you all day.
I know.
I feel like you're my little sisters.
We love you.
And so we love you too. And Moses sends his love.
Moses.
He's a little bit jealous that he's not here today. So, but I do want to really thank you both for taking time. I know it's getting to be Friday evening where you are, and I'm sure you have big plans for the evening. So thank you for spending it with me. What would you want the takeaway today to be for our audience out there?
Kindness takes courage. it's not always easy to be kind to ourselves or to others, but it's always worth it.
Yeah.
And that courage that you need is inside of you. You already have it.
I love that. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Maddie and Liz. Tell your parents I said hello.
Will do. Thank you. Tell Moses we said hello.
I will. And I definitely want to thank Audio Information Network of Colorado for making this podcast possible. I get to do the fun part. I get to chat with these beautiful people. But they're the ones that do the hard work on the back end and make this podcast successful and communicate with all of you out there. And going along with what, Maddie and Liz says, be kind to yourselves and find a way to be kind to somebody else this week. It's good for your soul.